All right, my friend, I have done some thinking, and I'm not saying that there's not better thinking out there, but this is how my brain has tried to solve tying individual people to tasks for positions that have multiple of people in those positions. So the two big ones are assistant principals and counselors. So I'm going to use assistant principals to kind of explain the two options we have. And it gets a little bit more complex for counselors. So the first way that I can think of it is the easiest way, but I don't know if it's the most accurate. It's probably not the most accurate. In fact, it most likely is not the most accurate, but I don't know exactly how accurate it will be for a variety of schools because anyway, I'll just get to it. The first thing you can do is you can map a person, assistant principal Joey, to an assistant principal category. So Joey handles most of the operational things, facilities, stuff like that. Mark will handle student services, which is like student schedules. Jane can do the events, that's like the open houses, and AP Jeremy can handle instruction, that's teaching teachers to teach. Okay, once we map a person to a position, then we can map a task to a position. So anyway, so task one is an operational task. So we just categorize task one as operations. So tasks will be assigned to one of four categories based on the assistant principal's position. And then from there, we can just map the uh, the tasks to people because the people will be tied to the task at that point. So Joey's the AP of operations. Task one is an operational task, so therefore Joey is the person who gets assigned there. That's one way to look at it. That's the simple, fast way. That's 4 clicks, and then we can assign tasks for assistant principals. Here's another way, and this involves categorizing tasks into more specific categories. So let's just pretend that we have 10 categories that we can assign AP tasks to. So there's 200 plus assistant principal tasks. And what if we assign all of those tasks to one of 10 categories? So now the categories are getting more specific and more detailed. So there's a higher likelihood that the mapping of a task to a person is more accurate to what the school's doing. But it's taking more input on the front end. So here's how we would do it on the back end. On the back end, we would map every task to one of 10 categories. So maybe it's like category one, instead of keeping it simple like operations, student services, events, instruction, maybe it's like more detailed, like you have a couple categories for operations. So it's facilities, it's uh, maintenance stuff, it's field, whatever. You get what I'm saying. The more categories you have, the more precise the assignments are. And so we map every task to one of 10 categories. And then on the front end, when they're signing up, we say, hey, here's the 10 categories. Assign the proper assistant principal to each category. So 10 times they're going through and they're saying AP Joey does category one, does category seven, AP Mark does category two and category five, and you see what I'm doing there. And so once the 10 categories are assigned to the four assistant principals, then you have an even more accurate assignments that you can do. One's quick, less accurate. One is slower, but brings more precision. Curious to know what you think about that. Now, here's the other complication. Counselors, I believe, the more I think about it, has to be done this way, and that's because counselors have there's not standard usages for counselors in school. There's some things that all counselors do, but as far as positions and like the types of category of things they do, they're all over the place. So it's not as simple. Most schools have this style of APs, and there's not much variant beyond that. Counselors have a bunch of different things they do, and there's not a common way that they assign all of them to. So wanted to share that with you to get your thoughts. I think I'm leaning towards this, but you know more about setup and if that's going to be a big barrier or not. Okay.